Hello everyone, my name is Anya Hawkins, welcome. My favorite method to bind off a ribbon when I need a stretchy edge is Jeny's surprisingly stretchy bind-off method. As it follows from the name, it is surprisingly stretchy. It stretches as much as the ribbon does. And it is easy to execute. I also love how it looks. But this is a matter of taste. I like it, you may not. So before you decide whether to use it, or maybe to substitute it for some other stretchy bind-off method, let's see some examples. In different garments with different types of ribbon. And if you're interested only in the actual instructions, you can skip ahead using chapters navigation. So examples. This sweater that I'm wearing right now has 1x1 rib on the neck and on the cuffs. And they were knitted top down, so this is the bind-off edge. When you look at it from the top, you can see that it looks like a vertical column of knit stitches. If you stop stretching it out, it starts kind of zigzagging because it follows the path of the ribbon when it compressed. If you look at the edge from the side, you can see on the knit stitches there are bumps on top of them, resembling purl stitches. These are yarn overs. It's thanks to them this edge stretches so much. Not everyone likes this effect. These bumps make the edge a little thicker, and because of it, it flares a little. I personally find it decorative, especially on cuffs. It creates kind of a ruffle, very delicate and subtle. I wear this sweater in winter constantly, and you can see some peeling. It's not new, it's several years old, but as you can see, even with signs of wear, the edge did not become stretched out and floppy. It still compresses back like I just bound it off. And here's an example of the same bind off with a twisted rib. Again, same bumps on the knit stitches, follows the path of the ribbon, stretchy, very stretchy, but stable at the same time. Despite the wear, haven't lost its shape. And here this bind-off edge with 2x2 ribbon. This yarn is thinner, though these bumps are not as pronounced. The ruffle does not flare as much. Here is again 2x2 rib. It's a cowl. This is bind-off edge. Here are those bumps. The edge is stretchy, very stretchy, but as I let go, it goes back and accommodates the path of the fabric as it folds onto itself. And I can trust this bind-off. It will stay like that forever, through years and years of wear. So if you liked it, here's how to do it. Here I have a swatch that represents any detail that ends in ribbon and needs to be bound off using Jeny's surprisingly stretchy bind-off method. It doesn't matter what type of ribbon you are binding off, all types are made out of knits and purls, and we will be looking at our knitting to see which one is next, knit stitch or a purl stitch, and our actions will depend on that. So to start binding off, work one stitching pattern. In my case it's knit stitch, so I knit. Look at your next stitch. In my case, it is also knit stitch, so to bind off it, if it is a knit stitch, make a reverse yarn over, meaning the yarn goes from the back to the front, like that. And then knit this stitch. Then take this yarn over and pass it over your knitted stitch and off the needle. Then take previous stitch that you have on your needle and pass it over your knit stitch and off the needle. The knit stitch is bound off. Next stitch is a purl stitch, and to bind off a purl stitch, make a regular yarn over, meaning that yarn goes from the front to the back, and then purl this stitch. Then take yarn over and pass it over your purl stitch and off the needle, and then take previous stitch and pass it over your purl stitch and off the needle. Purl stitch is bound off. Continue like that in pattern. Let's see it again. My next stitch is a purl stitch. So regular yarn over, then purl, then yarn over goes over the purl stitch and off the needle, then previous stitch goes over the purl stitch and off the needle. If it is a knit stitch, reverse yarn over, then knit, then yarn over goes over knit stitch, then previous stitch goes over knit stitch. If the detail you are binding off is in flat knitting, Work like that until there's gonna be one stitch left on the needle. Then cut the yarn, leaving a tail to weave in, and pull this tail through the last loop. And this is it. The bind off is done. If you're binding off the detail that is in the round, then in the end you will need to take care of this jog here. It's easy. Thread the tail into tapestry needle. Find the first stitch that you worked. If you look from the top, it's this V shape. Insert the needle from front to back under both legs of this V. Pull the yarn through. And then stick your needle into the middle of the last stitch you bound off, right where this working yarn is coming from, right here. And pull the yarn through. That way we closed this gap, everything is neat and even. Flip the work to the inside and weave this tail into the column of knit stitches. This is our bind off. Here are those bumps that I talked about at the beginning. If you look from the top, the bound off edge follows the path of the ribbon. It stretches as much as the rib itself and then compresses back again. Well, that was it for this tutorial. I hope you find it useful. Thank you all for watching and I will see you soon. Bye!